everybody, this is Aubrey from Twisted Trinkets, and in this video we are going to be making a super simple wire wrapped ring that's got a little bit of a nest around the bead. Okay, so supplies. What we have here is I've got an 8mm bead with a hole through the center of it. Okay, and then I've got my 20 gauge copper wire, and I've cut a piece off here that's about 2 feet long. Okay, and then I have my wire cutters, and I've got my bent chain nose pliers, and then of course, as with all rings, my nice shiny ring mandrel. Okay, so let's get started. All right, I'm just gonna move that out of the way. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna do here is that I'm going to thread my bead onto my wire and put it in the middle of the wire like this. Ta-da! Okay, and then my ring size for my middle finger, which is where I want to be wearing this ring, is about a size 7. So I'm going to start on my ring mandrel to an 8, and I'm going to put my bead right on that 8, and I'm just going to pinch it in the back so that it's tight. Okay, so now in the back I have a top wire and I have a bottom wire. All right, so I'm going to wrap twice my top wire twice around the top and behind the bead. 1, 2. Okay, and I'm gonna leave it in front like this, going the opposite direction. And now I'm gonna take my bottom wire and I'm gonna do the same thing. 1, 2, leaving it in the front and going the opposite direction. All right, so I'm going to go back to my size 8 here. Just make sure that I am pulled tight on my 8. Okay, and I'm going to bend my top wire down and my bottom wire up to make sure that everything is secure and measured. All right, I'm going to go ahead and take this off my ring mandrel here. Now you'll notice that I have 4 wires here, and I want to make sure that they don't cross. So as I pinch together to make my band, right, I'm just going to make sure that my 4 wires stay uncrossed and in the back. Okay, now I'm going to stick my finger through the ring, right, and I'm going to hold my bead with my thumb. Okay, and in doing that, it just makes it so that as I wrap, my bead is not going to warp and neither is my band. Okay, so to make the nest design now, I'm going to take my bottom wire, right, and I am going to wrap it once around my bead kind of loosely and just push it down so that it's like the same, like on the same plane, I guess, as my bead, and I'm gonna make it go the other direction. Okay, and then I'm gonna wrap my top wire once around as well. It's more like 1.5 times, I guess. And I'm going to just make it so that it ends facing downward, so that my top wire is now facing down and my bottom wire is facing up. So now you can see that I've got this nice little nest around my bead. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna put this back on my ring mandrel here, make sure that I'm still at my size 8, okay, and I am. So now I'm gonna do that same thing where if you have any wires that come undone, you can just smoosh them back down so that they're even with your bead. Okay, so I'm gonna make sure that my top wire now faces downward and my bottom wire faces upward. Okay, and then I'm still at my size 8, and I'm just gonna secure my wire ends, all right, by doing a quick 1 across. Whoops. I want to make sure that this stays relatively close to the bead. Okay, and I'm just gonna pull it tight so that it's secure here on the side. I'm going to do the same thing with the other side, following the direction of the wire, looping it through. All right, keeping it as close to the bead as possible here. Okay, and I'm just going to pull it so that it's tight and secure. All right, now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to put this back on my ring mandrel now, just to make sure that I'm keeping my size. Right, and now I've shrunk just a little bit because I've started my wrapping of my band. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to pull this down. If you need to, you can come back up excuse me. All right, and loosen up one of the wires a little bit to pull your band out and just make sure that it stays the right size. Okay, so I am just about a little bit bigger than a size 7. I'm about at a 7.5 now, and that's okay. So now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to wrap each side about 3 times. So I've already done my one to secure the band, right? And now I'm going to do my second. Okay, and I want to make sure, I don't know if you noticed, but this one actually crossed. So I want to make sure instead that it is laying on the side of that first loop so that it's to the side of it. There we go. And now it's making this nice, hang on, let me see if I can focus it in here. This nice little coil here on the side. Okay, so that's 2, and here's my third. Okay. Now, the more coils that you do to secure the band, the smaller the ring is going to get. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my other side really quick, and I'm just going to do my 3 loops here, right? So I did my first one to secure it already. So this is my second, and I crossed it again like a derp. There we go, to the side. That's 2. And 3. Okay, and that one went way down, so I'm going to pinch it and then pull it. Okay, see, now I have a lot of space between that one, so I'm just going to use my fingernails, or if you don't want to use your fingernails, you can use your pliers just to pull it in. Okay, so now I have 2 nice coils and 3 loops on this side, 2 nice coils and 3 loops on that side. Now I'm just going to make sure on my ring mandrel that I'm at my size 7. Okay, so I pull it down my ring mandrel, and sometimes you have to get a little angry with it to pull it down to the right spot. But you'll see that I have, there we go, 6. It's right on my 7, and then I have my 8. So I don't want to do any more coils or else it's going to shrink the band up. So now I'm going to flip it over really quick and just check my band here. And I don't have any overlapping bits. My bottom band is pulling away from the other pieces a little bit, so I'm just going to pinch those together so that they're laying nicely side by side. Okay, and I'm just going to finish off my ring now. So I'm going to take my wire cutters here, and I'm going to cut underneath as close to the band as I can without actually cutting my piece of work here. Okay, and then I'm going to cut my other one, pull it close, cut as close to the band as I can without cutting the actual band itself. Okay, now I'm going to take my bent chain nose pliers and I'm going to tuck in my ends here so that I don't stab anybody. So as I tuck, I'm going to pull my coils together as well so that they're nice and tight. Okay, and then when I run my finger over my end, it should not stab me. Okay, so then I'll do the other side where I've got my coils pulled close together so that they're nice and pretty, if I can. Here we go. And then I'm going to tuck my end here so that we're not stabbing people. Okay, now when I run my finger over it, it's not stabbing me. And there you have it, a nice, simple, easy, nested bead ring. And it fits my size 7 middle finger here. The back is nice and flat so that it's not pinching anybody. Dooby dooby doo. It's freaking beautiful.